welcome back. It's Christine again with the Artist Pod, and today I thought I'd go behind the scenes with Walking in Nature and the Artist Pod and tie it into the larger discussion of building a brand and that kind of workflow involved. Yeah, so let's get started. All right, so the first thing I do when I turn on my computer is I open up all of these tabs, right? So I open up Merch by Amazon. So I've been with Merch by Amazon for about 3 years. That was really my first major foray into print on demand. So this is more geared towards walking in nature, right? Merch by Amazon's up. It's dedicated to walking in nature. I have YouTube up, which is dedicated to the Artist Pod, and make sure that, if I get any comments or anything else, I can respond to them. I have my website up, Walking in Nature, for on Shopify. And what's nice about that, I don't have a lot of sessions. I obviously haven't made any sales today, but I can check analytics. I can see that I had 2 people visit, and I can see the analytics when you just click here, that tab. I can see, what they've done. They just went to the front page. One came from Facebook. They both were using a desktop. One was from the US, one was from France. Nobody added a session to their cart. So they did. It'll also show you, yesterday I had a couple sessions added to cart, and today I haven't had any, and they didn't really reach checkout, but you can see all of that. There's a whole lot of nice features on Shopify on the back end that really lets you sort of see, analyze what's happening. There's Etsy, which is for walking in nature. Etsy, I probably do the most work with. I am constantly answering questions. I get a lot of questions. I'm fulfilling orders. I'm loading new designs. Whenever I receive an order, I send a message sort of confirming it and giving a timetable. I send another message once I see they've received it as sort of a follow-up, make sure everything's okay. And so I'm probably putting the most work into Etsy and building that up. I have my Patreon up for the Artist Pod because I have a Patreon attached to the YouTube videos for the Artist Pod. I have Facebook up primarily for walking in nature, although I have a Facebook page for the Artist Pod as well. But the Artist Pod Facebook group is tied to the Patreon, so that's not really as open as the walking in nature page. So I get a lot more notifications with walking in nature. So when you're building a brand, I think it's important to build out social media channels too. But where I think a lot of brands get tripped up is that your social media channels aren't for you. It's not for your brand. It's for your people. And so everything I'm posting is meant to be for them. I want to create a community where people feel like, they're welcome, that it's like-minded people, that it's people that get them, that they're understood here. And that's what, as a brand on a social media channel we're trying to do. I post 4 times a day, and only one of those posts is a product post. I also often try to ask questions. You can see here I have a question at the top of this post. And I found that questions are a great way for people to get back in their own heads and give them a chance to feel heard and to share something and to talk about, an experience they've had, which we all love to do. And by asking a question before I tell a story, it gets people sort of engaged in that post, and you can see people have answered. Now this one's pinned, so there's been chances for a lot of people to answer it, but I try as often as possible, and some questions get more responses than others. But even on the product post, I ask a question. Now I also do this in my descriptions on Etsy and Shopify for the individual products, and what I post on Facebook is actually just the very first line taken from there, where I look up a fact about an animal and then I pose it as a question. Did you know X, Y, or Z? And what I've found is that the people on the Facebook page really love it, and they've commented and told me that they really love that they can share these facts with people. So I try to find really cool and interesting facts, and sometimes it can take a while doing the research to find the fact that's going to resonate or seem interesting to people, so that, it can be another way to engage. But you'll notice that in the post itself, I didn't actually link the design. I did that in the comments, which it linked strangely. Usually it shows the picture of it. But I link it in the comments. Facebook has a feature where you can tag products if you've linked your Shopify with your Facebook page. And so that's what I've done here is I've tagged it it's a little glitchy. Sometimes it doesn't recognize one of the products even though it's synced, but that's fine. Here it worked. You can see it down here. And this, what's nice about this is that the click to view products will follow it no matter how many times it's shared. But either way, even if it's not and it's just in the comments, I don't want to come off as spammy, right? Like I don't want to spam them. That's not why they're here. They're not here to see my products. They're here to be part of that community. And that's what's important to realize. As a brand, I'm here to facilitate them feeling comfortable in a community that's passionate about climate change, nature, wildlife conservation, not passionate about my product and my shirt. So then I have the Creator Studio open. Once upon a time, Facebook let us schedule posts in Facebook, but now Facebook only lets us do it from the Creator Studio. So I always have this open because I'm always scheduling posts. I typically schedule a post to go off in the middle of the day, and at that point I'm usually at lunch, so I make sure that I've scheduled it every day. But you can schedule like 2 months out, and so when I go on vacation, I'll schedule a whole bunch of posts to go off while I'm not here so that I'm still active in the page. I'm still getting people talking and responding, and I don't necessarily have to facilitate that because I've already done that work. I also have my email for Walking in Nature. That's always open. I have my email for the Artist Pod. That's always open. And then I have Shirtly, which is my print-on-demand provider, which is also always open. So, as a brand, as I mentioned, I'm working on these all the time. I also have a schedule for myself. I found that's really helpful. So on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I do a design, and it takes me about a day to do a full design. And then Sunday, Tuesday, I work on the Artist Pod. And Thursday and Saturday, I have a part-time job. And then Saturday evening, I actually also teach martial arts. So in order to make sure I'm dedicating enough time to each one of these to give them the proper amount of work that they need, I had to have a schedule for myself. It's really helpful. And on my off days too, I'll do research about what animal to draw as well. So on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, while those are the days I'm usually strictly designing, I'm typically not researching those days except to find a cool fact because I've already decided what animal to do and I've probably already done some research about it. But having a schedule really helps to not feel overwhelmed, right? Like, if you don't do what you love, I'm passionate about climate change, animals, wildlife, and art. And so with Walking in Nature, that combines that passion because I'm passionate about it. I love it. I'm less likely to walk away. But the same is true when you're getting overwhelmed, right? So without a schedule, I was getting overwhelmed. And I'm just as likely to walk away if I'm overwhelmed as I am if I'm not passionate about it. Do what you're passionate about because that's what's going to keep your attention the longest. That's what you're going to be wanting to build and focus on and create a brand around is something that you love. And, if you do what you love, you'll attract people who love it too, inevitably. One of the most important parts of building a brand is building the foundation, but it's also the least rewarding. You're building a foundation. I started my Walking in Nature page September of 2018. I'm at 3,500 followers now, and it's, June 2020. And, I get sales occasionally from it, but not a lot. Because I'm still building that foundation. Now, having said that, I am just beginning to see the benefits of all the hard work I've put in. That is happening, but it takes a while to happen. It can take years, but it's also the most important step because if you don't have the foundation, it'll be a lot harder to scale. But with a solid foundation in place, scaling will become exponentially easier the further you go. So as I go on further and further in this process, it'll become easier and easier and easier, and I've already seen that. All right, so I hope that was helpful, sort of talking through, how all of it's kind of working together at the moment and, how you would build up a brand. Well, I will see you all next time. Take care.